Hello, Nottingham Forest Focus. Something different today away from the transfer talk, as we're joined by Nottingham Forest fan Tim Cox to talk about Bottled Up Blokes as part of Men's Mental Health Week. Tim, good to have you with us. Good that you're a Reds fan. Even better that you're a channel member, we were saying before we recorded. So you're a supporter of the Reds and a supporter of this podcast. So it's great to have you with us. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm decent. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on. It's a privilege to be with you.
No, great to have you with us. Great to have you with us, as I say. And it's a bit coincidence this is Men's Mental Health Week, but it does work out really well. So we'll talk about Bottled Up Blokes, but as we often do on these kind of interviews when we have someone we don't know too well, who's a Forest fan on, just tell us a little bit about yourself as a Reds fan. Is it a family thing? Did you stumble into it? How did it all come about?
So it kind of is a family thing, yeah, but it weren't through like my dad. It was my uncle and my cousins that took us, me and my brother. So my dad weren't really a football fan, and he still isn't really, not into football at all. So yeah, we played it, and then as uncles, they had season tickets, and ever so often, like when one of them couldn't go, we'd get to go. So that's pretty much how we fell into it, and we're still there now.
What era are we talking then when you got into it?
So it would have been probably around like Collymore, Pierce, that kind of era.
So you're
So
about
it
the
was
same
like,
age as me then.
yeah. So I've seen a lot of crap over the years. I've seen more worse than good. Put it that way.
Well, yeah, we might tag on a bit of chat at the end about the Premier League, but we'll talk about Bottled Up Blokes before we do that. Obviously, tell us a bit about the group, and you founded it, so tell us how you came to found it as well.
Well, I struggle myself with mental health, and there wasn't anything really around for us in our area. So I was going to do like coffee morning to start off with. But oddly enough, there weren't any cafes open in our area either in the morning on Saturday that were going to do it. So my missus said, well, why don't you do like a Facebook group, private Facebook group just for men? So it started from that. And then that was January 2022. And then in April, we opened our first peer support group face to face. That's in the local church hall just down the road from where I live in South Normanton. And then from that, it's kind of just grew and grew. Getting people from like people contacting us like Forest and like Mansfield Town and stuff like that, and it's really strange, but it all comes about basically from me looking for somewhere to go. I needed somewhere, and I thought, well, why can't I be the person that provides it for other people?
Do you think it's grown a lot because it's such a big problem, but it's sort of an underrepresented problem? You know how men's suicide is this kind of a really high rate with mental health issues. Is it something that market's not the right word, a gap in the market? You know what I mean? It was
I
something
get what
that
you
needed
mean. Yeah.
serving, and you stepped in, but it's such a big problem that's not really been completely tackled, I guess, in society properly.
Yeah, it's a massive problem. It really is. And say in our local area, there wasn't anything. In other areas, there is. So it's kind of like, well, let's not copy, but follow a similar kind of thing to what they do in other areas. And let's see if we can provide it for people around us. So that's kind of the way that it went was, the rate, like you say, the suicide rates are horrendous in men, especially like our kind of age. It's awful. So if we can do something to help that, then yeah, why not?
Do you think is that just through a lack of talking about it? I know that's what you guys do, but you talk about people our age. A lot of people listen to this podcast are probably men of our age, maybe a bit older, and there's that generational thing, especially people a bit older than us. Bottle it up, I guess, is it where the name comes from? Is that the biggest problem and the biggest thing that you're looking to tackle then?
Yeah, definitely. It's like from my own personal view, like I was raised in a household where my mum and stepdad were basically alcoholics and they were violent to each other, physically, but violent. So like a lot of the time they'd get drunk, like hit each other, shout at each other, swear at each other, all that kind of stuff. And I'd witness it as a young lad. Then the next day they'd forget it. And then I'd just go to school or to work or whatever and just not say anything to anybody. So that's kind of how it got me, just like anything bad, I just keep it all in. So eventually, years and years later, it all erupts because I, like I say, bottled it all up and then it just explodes. And me, it comes out in anger, it comes out in depression and that kind of stuff. So like the way that we kind of work is that if we can get people talking when they're starting to feel a little bit rubbish, or like before preferably, so that they're not having that big build up and then they won't have the big eruption at the end. Because obviously people have different ways of dealing with stuff, and that's obviously one of them is unfortunately suicide.
So how's life changed for you then since you started the group and since you started talking about it? And I guess for you mentioned your missus as well. How's it changed your whole family if you're able to talk about things and not have that big kind of explosion that you discussed?
It's changed a lot for me. On a personal level, I get a lot from the groups and helping out, and when you talk to other people, and it's kind of like a weird selfish way. When someone says to you, "Oh, you saved my life," or "Your group saved my life," that's a massive boost for you, and it makes you feel really proud. But yeah, it has helped me a lot personally. It helps other people, like you say, family life, because I'm now not as snappy and I'm not losing my temper as much. It makes a difference at home. I still do, like everybody does, every family and couples, you have squabbles and that kind of stuff, but it's not at the rate and the big explosion as it was before, if that makes sense.
How does the group work on a practical level then? Is it you go down, you sit in a circle and you talk, and people just go down and listen if they're a bit nervous of talking? And how do sessions go in general?
Yeah, absolutely. If someone wants to just sit and watch and they don't feel comfortable talking, that's absolutely fine. So, like you say, we'll sit in a circle, pretty similar to what you'd see in like an AA group or something like that on telly, and we'll each take it in turns to have a say and get things out and get things off our chest. So, like, say we've got regulars that come every week, they will talk about what's happened in that week since they last came. So it could be stuff that's bad things that have happened, so that they can get it out, get off the chest, and they haven't got the build up. Anybody new that comes in, we'll say to them, look, you can talk if you want, you can say the reason why you've walked through the door and get as much stuff out as you want. But at the same time, if you don't feel comfortable talking, you just want to watch, see how it works, then that's absolutely fine. And we're dead relaxed. We don't like people, because it is hard, especially in the first few times. It's really hard for people to come in and because it's nerve wracking. But we try and make it relaxed. We say to people, look, if you want to sit on your phone, obviously not having it loud or anything like that, but if you want to be scrolling through messages and that kind of stuff, that's fine. We don't have a strict, it starts at 7. If you're not here, you can't come in. It's while the session's on, for them couple of hours, you can come and go as much as you please. And we'll say to people, it might not be for you. You could come, sit there and go, actually, this isn't for me. This group's not going to work for me. Thanks a lot. See you later. And off they go. So we don't want people to feel like when they're there, it's strict and they can only do certain things, they only say certain things. And we try and make it relaxed, because it's not a comfortable atmosphere when you first walk into it, if that makes sense. It is, and the fact that we're welcoming, but it's hard for the people when they first come.
Do you have people who hang around for a long time? They're there for a couple of years. It's a constant thing to stay on top of your mental health, and everyone's welcome to stay as long as they want.
Yeah, pretty much. So, like the Hucknall group. So we've got the South Normanton one, the Hucknall one, and we just opened the Nottingham one. The Hucknall one, that gets probably 10 to 15 every week, and a big chunk of that is the same guys that have been coming now some of them have been coming for a year. So it generally does do that. People will keep coming. The South Normanton group, which has been going for just over 2 years now, that's kind of people. You've still got your few core ones, but then you'll have ones that might not come for a month or two, and then they'll come back, and then obviously they know how it works, so they just fit right back in and that kind of stuff.
One of the things about this podcast, I always think, like, we have people all over the world, and I think it is a bit of a community, and there is a bit of camaraderie, and you can share in a win, you can commiserate in a defeat. Is there a bit of that in what you do in terms of creating bonds and friendships and that kind of thing can help? Just from day to day. I don't know if you swap numbers or drop each other messages or stuff like that, but there is something in that, I think, isn't there?
Oh, definitely. So, like, I'm in so many WhatsApp groups from it, with different people and that kind of stuff, and you do you're messaging each other like every day, and you're constantly your mates. So my friendship groups got so big from it, but it's so tight. We're so close because you've shared stuff that you wouldn't necessarily share with your normal mates. Like, these guys from group know more about the crap that the crap that I'm going through on a day-to-day basis, to my normal mates, and you do get dead close with people, and you do get a bond. And when they're struggling, you want to help them as much as you can because your friendships, you get big friends with them. I've got some really close friends from this.
Do you think things are changing, like society's changing, the way people can talk about it? There is, do you think there's still a stigma or not? Because it is hard for people to talk about even now, I guess.
There's definitely a stigma still, 100%. It's getting better, and there's more education around it, especially in schools and secondary schools and colleges and that kind of stuff. But this academic year, I've recently been into Nottingham College. I went in 4 separate Mondays and helped them out, just do talking and that kind of stuff. And I could see there that the lads are still pretty similar to how I was when I was their age, especially like the bravado ones and the popular ones. They didn't want to be talking about the mental health. They knew about it, and they knew they'd been told about stuff, which is more than what I had when I was their age, like 16, 17. You didn't talk about it, or you weren't educated about it at all. But they still weren't, the barriers were still up for them. Probably in a class of about 20, there's probably a quarter of them that would talk. The rest of them would just shut off. So it's getting better, but...
Is that around like showing weakness and stuff like that, do you think then?
I think so, yeah. I think it's still that stigma of you're a man, you've got to be strong, you can't show your weaknesses, you can't cry and that kind of stuff. And I still think it's there, but it's slowly getting better. I think it's better in our age as well, to be fair. Like that 30 to 45 bracket, because a lot of people are going through it. It's kind of like, oh, actually, yeah, I should be talking about mental health.
Has it changed? I was surprised when you said the group's only been around for a couple of years. Has it changed and accelerated with the kind of a partnership with Forest and Harry Toffolo, particularly? He's been a big supporter of yours. Has that made a big difference?
Yeah, it has to us. Yeah, massively. They've been great. The community trust, Forest Community Trust, sorry, they've been amazing for us. They've really pushed us. They've backed us. They've done things like having Harry Toffolo come down, which it were brilliant because I didn't tell the lads. So quite a few of the lads Forest fans. So I knew he was coming, but they didn't. So when he walked in, some of them were like, "Oh, sorry, Toffolo, what's he doing here?" And then one of the lads is a Derby fan, so we were like, we're giving him some stick. But yeah, that was brilliant. It was eye opening because I didn't think he'd open up like he did, Harry Toffolo. So right, like near the start, I'd said to him, I was like, look, because it was just after the betting thing had come out. Literally, it just been had his charge for it and that kind of stuff, and it had just all been sorted and settled. And I said to him, I said, look, I appreciate you probably aren't going to be able to talk about it, so if there's anything that we say and you don't want us to carry on, or you can't just say. And he said, no, I'll talk about anything. And he literally told us most of it, told us all about what he'd been through and how long it goes back and how he is now and the effect it's had on him. And, to see, because you're obviously all professional footballers in this super high esteem, don't you, that they're like these gods or whatever. And you sat there and you're like, yeah, these are normal people still, which gets lost because of the money and the finance side of stuff. But it was so much more open than I could ever imagine that it was going to be. And I'm still in touch with him now. Like, it seems weird that I say to my missus all the time, I can message a Premier League footballer on Twitter and I get a response. You know what I mean? Like a private message. It's just like, this is strange. It shouldn't happen. And they're like, and he plays for Forest. It's been great for us. It really has. It's been dead supportive.
I guess it shows like people from all walks of life suffer. Money helps us all, but it's not a barrier to having problems as well, is it?
No. The thing is with mental health, it doesn't discriminate who you are. It doesn't matter. It'll get you. It don't matter if you've got the best paid job or the worst paid job or you're successful. It can still affect you.
True. A lot of people who watch this won't be in Nottingham or in the area. So if they're struggling, what would your advice be to them?
So basically, talk to anybody you can. If you are struggling, go to your GP. That's always a good one, a good place to start, because they can point you into places like therapy and counselling, and if you need it, they can offer you antidepressants and that kind of stuff. There is also a website called Hub of Hope, and it's a really good website because if you're not in Nottingham, you could be anywhere. So if you go on the Hub of Hope, and you put in what you're struggling with, it might be addiction, it might be depression, stress, that kind of stuff, and you put your postcode in, it finds services local to you. So it's not just, all right, it's got to be like I've got to go to Samaritans or whatever. There's so many little ones like us, so many places that can help you out that you just don't know about. But on this Hub of Hope, that shows you where they all are. It's brilliant. It's a cracking website.
One other thing we should discuss as well, you guys do, it's not all the kind of talking sessions. I see you started doing football sessions as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we do one in Tibshelf in Derbyshire. That's been running for just over a year now, and that's grown massively. So that started as like a third of a pitch, so it's 7-a-side. So it started off, and then literally within the first couple of months, we had to get another one. We had to double the pitch. So we now get 28 people every week going to that. And then the other one that we just opened in Nottingham, that's been open about 4 weeks now. That's at Bilborough Sports College. And that's, I think we had 8 people there this week. And that's 5-a-side, that one is. So, and that one's free because it's not been fully sorted yet, but the community trusts are going to back that one as well, the football session at Nottingham. So we've made that one free so that anyone can go on our website, bottledupblokes.com, and book from there to book onto the football.
Yeah, how do you fund it all? This isn't a plug for people to start throwing money at you necessarily, but because I hadn't thought of it until then. But how do you fund all this?
So originally, I was like for the room hire in South Normanton, I was paying 50% of the room hire. It weren't a lot, but it was like every week I was paying half of it, and then a local company paid for the first 6 months the other half. And then we started to get a few little grants, and people were doing fundraising. I was doing fundraising, that kind of stuff. And that's basically the only way that we fund it is grants and funding and fundraising, and any donations that anybody makes. We've just done a walk from Cromford to Pinxton. There's a pub in Pinxton called the Hop Inn, and I get on really well with the owner of it. And he organised a walk. There was 80 of us, 82 people, something like that, and we raised over 11 grand.
Oh wow!
Which for us, that's huge, and that's the reason why we've been able to go, right, we'll open a Nottingham City hub, and at the time it was like, well, we can do a football in Nottinghamshire as well, and then obviously after that, Forest talked about paying for it and that. So, but it's mainly fundraising and grants.
Do you want to expand it, or is it just you just want to keep it local?
Well, the hope is to basically grow more in Nottinghamshire and then the East Midlands, because I work 4 days a week, so I've still got my normal job, and then I do this on a Monday. I'm doing all kinds of different stuff, and then obviously we've got the groups and that kind of stuff like later on in the evenings and that, and kind of work it around. So I'm constantly on the go, but I do want to grow it, and the idea eventually is for me to do it full time, to go into like organisations and do talks and deliver stuff like that.
Got off track there. I want to go back to the football. Is it? I mean, exercise helps as well, I guess, and it's that being together as well. I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. So the good thing about it is, and the way how we wanted it to be, is that anybody could play. So anyone who's male and 18 can play. So it doesn't matter if you've not played football in 40 years, or you're not the fittest or you're not the best. It's not about that. It's about getting together, doing a bit of exercise, like you say, which helps your mental health, socializing, and just having a laugh. And like say, for some people, it's about being able to play football again. We've got a guy who comes who's 60, 62, 63, something like that, to the Tibshelf one, and he'd not played football in years. And he comes every week because it gives him the chance to play football.
No, that's great. We discussed a lot of different things, a lot of different days. Where can people find all the information if they want to come down? It's all swirling in their head about when they actually do it. Where's all the info?
So the best place would be either Facebook or Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it these days. So that's the best place, because I'm constantly on there, and every day that we've got something happening, I'll always put a post. So, but on a Monday we have football at Tibshelf. Tuesday we have a peer group at Hucknall and the football at Bilborough. Wednesday we have the group in Nottingham, which is at the Portland Centre, and Thursday we have the group in South Norrington.
Excellent. I'll drop the links for all that in the episode description so people can find it and check it out. While we're doing plugs as well, this is the last one before our live show. So you can buy tickets on the door if you want to come down tonight and see Lewis and Gary and all of us. And it'll be a good night, I'm sure, if you want to get out and have a good evening. Should we do some Forest chat for 10 minutes? You're a big Forest fan. How are you feeling about how last season went? How are you feeling about the season ahead?
Well, I thought last season weren't particularly great. I was like a lot of Forest fans. I was gutted when Steve Cooper went because he gave us something that we never had. Like he gave us that day at Wembley, which I'd never been to Wembley with Forest, and I've been wanted to for years and years and years. And the closest I'd ever really been was the semi-final against Sheffield United when they beat us years ago, and that stuck with me until Brice Samba saved that last penalty in the last semi-final against him. And I was just like, when he saved that penalty, I dropped to the floor in the living room and cried like a baby. I was just like, finally. But fortunately, I couldn't get tickets for the Forest end at Wembley. So luckily, I know someone who's a Huddersfield fan. So I managed to get in the Huddersfield end, right on the back row, right next to where the black fabric was. So I could be as close as possible to Forest. And then at full time, all Forest fans that were sat in that area jumped over and joined in with Forest fans anyway. But this season, it's not been great, has it? It's been so frustrating. And every set piece that you concede, it winds you up even more than the last. But yeah, next season's going to be interesting because there's a lot of talk about Nuno, and I think that if we'd have lost at Burnley, I think they'd have got rid of Nuno then. I don't think they'd have kept him. And that's not me saying that I want him to go. That's me saying that that's how I think the Marinakis work. It's kind of like they cutthroat, and if they're not happy, they'll just get rid of him. But
we'll pick up on that. It's interesting. It's funny you said a few things there. I mean, there were loads of Forest fans in that Huddersfield end. Surprising how many there were. Because when after the celebrations, you could see there were loads of Forest fans in the Huddersfield section when they'd all gone. So that was funny. And the other thing is, how old are you? Are you exactly the same age as me? I'm 41. Are you roughly
I'm 38.
Okay, 38. So you're a little bit younger. It's funny what you say about Sheffield United, saying how that scarred you. Because we did play in other semi-finals. Obviously, the overall, which doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't count as much because it was League One. But we lost to Swansea, we lost to Blackpool. But it's that Sheffield United one that stuck with us, isn't it? Is that because we were kids and we were younger and we were so invested in the games of the Premier League as youths? Do you think?
I think it's because that's the first Forest team that I fell in love with.
Yeah,
I really fell in love with because I'd had a season ticket in Paul Hart's first season. So that season, like, when we had Dawson and Jennings coming through and Gareth Williams and all that kind of stuff, that was when I first had a season ticket. And then seeing that growth and like I say, you fell in love with that team, and for it to happen how it did, it scarred me. It scarred me for years and years and years. It's still my lowest moment as a football fan. And I won't ever fully get rid of that.
No, I'm exactly the same. I think there's a whole group of men and women of our age, Forest fans, who feel that way. What about next season then? I think Nuno will stay. You might be right about what you said. Do you feel pretty comfortable with Nuno in charge and 3 or 4 new signings that we're on the right track, or are we miles off it?
No, I'm happy enough with Nuno. You've not got the warmth that you had from him with Cooper, but I suppose last game at season when that finished, he did seem to dance around a little bit and show a little bit of emotion. But I'm happy enough with Nuno, and I do think 5 or 6 we need. And you keep seeing the names linked and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, I don't mind some of the names that have been linked. But yeah, definitely. I think again next season, let's just stay up. I'm happy with 17th, 16th, 17th. Let's stay as a Premiership team. Let's try not to get battered by FFP, and let's keep going up.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the trajectory we need. Right, we shall leave it there. Just like I say, hope to see as many people as we can out of the Trent Navigation tonight. And thanks for their support. Hopefully, people have taken something from this. Obviously, a good thing to talk about. Just remind people again, Tim, quickly, where they can find you on Twitter and Facebook if they want to check you out.
So you can search us on either. It's just Bottled Up Blokes. Twitter is at Bottled Up Blokes. Facebook, if you just search Bottled Up Blokes, you'll find a page in the private men's Facebook group. So you find us there, or bottledupblokes.com.
Excellent, excellent. Right, thanks very much to everyone who's joined us. As ever, do us a favour and hit like on the video. Is it going to play? No, I've really messed that up. I'm not even going to edit that out. There you go. Twitchy thumbs. Right, yeah, like, subscribe, become a channel member like Tim. Appreciate his support, appreciate everyone's support. Give us a lovely review on iTunes. Hopefully you enjoyed that, Tim. Thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah.
Good
No,
man.
thanks for having me. It
Good man.
means a lot. I listen to your podcast all the time. I think they're brilliant. And like I said to you before, the guests that you get on, your panel, never mind anything else, your normal panel, you've got such a good variety of different people. And they've got like the different, like the ways that they see things and how they talk and that. And then obviously the people that you're getting on, it says a lot about you, mate, how well you're doing with it.
No. Well, thank you very much. That's very kind. That's a lovely note to end on. We shall be back on probably Monday. I was going to do something tomorrow, but I think I'll go mad if the windows are still being fitted and the drilling's carrying on. We've been quite lucky with this, and Tim's been a good sport doing it now. So, yeah, thanks very much, everyone. Have a good day. Hopefully see you at the live show. But in the meantime, we shall see you soon.